Welcome to the TD Report, everybody. I'm your host, David Combs, here with Jody Coleman and Devin, POV Sports, Mason. Hey, guys, everybody feeling good today?
Hey, I'm feeling outstanding. I can't wait for this show, man.
I know you can't. We got a really fun guest coming on. We're going to have Jim Burrows step on the show with us to be our guest here on the TD Report. Yes, he is Joe Burrow's dad. Pretty good football player in his own right, and some really interesting sports stuff about the family. But Jim has been nice enough to come on the show, and he's going to talk with us not just about Joe, but just sports in general. And we're going to pick his brain on a few things about his career. He's got a very long career as an assistant coach and a head coach in college football. So, there's a lot of dads out here that don't know a lot about football, but their son is a great football player. Our next guest is not one of those people. Welcome to the TD Report, Jim Burrow. Hey, Jim. What's up, man?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
How come we don't have any pictures of you back there?
Well, as you get older, you become a better player every year. So maybe I'll have to bring some pictures back out there. But I've moved on, and you introduced me as Joe Burrow's dad. So that's what I go by now. I've long gone from the Jimmy Burrow football player. I'm Joe Burrow's dad. So I'm good with that.
Well, aside from a lot of guys who have a son that plays pro football, not everybody's dad has some interceptions. You actually have some statistics out there. We've done we did a little research on you, before you came on the show. Can do me a favor, tell us about the CFL when you played. Yeah. You won the Grey Cup a couple of times.
Well, I was drafted by the Packers, played for Bart Starr. Dick LeBeau was my defensive back coach, and
wow.
Played that year, got released actually during that year, later in that year after I'd already got my year in. Marv Levy with the Alouettes, the longtime Buffalo coach, picked before the Buffalo. He was the Bills coach. He was the Alouettes, and then the Chiefs. But he picked me up, and we won the Grey Cup in '77. We played against Warren Moon and the Edmonton Eskimos, 78-79, got beat. So ended up getting traded to Calgary, finished my career at Ottawa. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was important to me to be able to play that long in the CFL. And so after 6 years professionally, I retired and started coaching at Washington State University at that time.
Mm-hmm. Did you happen to pick off Warren Moon?
You know what?
Did you get him?
I think I did once when I was at Calgary. I mean, I'm going to say I did either way, but
now we got to get Warren on the show to maybe set the record straight.
Hey, my son was at his. He had some kind of a fundraiser at the Super Bowl in Phoenix, and he had a picture with Joe, and I reminded Joe that I had played against him, but I don't know if Warren Moon's played against a lot of guys, so I'm probably way down the list of guys he remembers.
Hey, when you get a chance and you talk to Joe later, tell him you were on the show for officially 1 minute, and we got our first Who Day post on our chat.
Somebody's already jumped in there. That's cool. We love the Who Day chant. The Bengals are awesome, and we feel blessed to be a part of them.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to bring in Jody Coleman. He's going to ask a few questions here and there. Okay. That way you don't have to hear my voice the whole time. We're going to spread it around.
Whoever is good.
Jody, jump on in there, buddy. And Devin, you're next.
Mr. Burrows, this is definitely an honor to be on here with you, man.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to say this. You might not like. I'm a Browns fan. fan. Unfortunately,
the Browns play. They have a football team.
Wow.
No, those guys are on defense. They're a beast. I mean, Joe has trouble against those guys every time we play them. The defensive ends are phenomenal, and Callahan is as the offensive line coach. They can run the ball, and I would assume for the next several years it's going to be a battle every time. And I have tons of friends here in Athens, Ohio that are also Browns fans, so I get it.
And the thing about it is, this will be the first time, hopefully next year, where Cincinnati and Cleveland's gonna be good. I've been a fan for a long time. And it's either Bengals are good, more and more Bengals than the Browns being good. But I think it's really gonna be both of those teams being good at the same time. But I want to ask you, as a father, when did you come from a very athletic family yourself? Your is that your mother that scored 82 points in the game? Was that your mother?
Yep, she did. Yep.
It's a lot of points.
She scored 82.
Points.
I scored 45 one night in high school, and I came home and, I was all feeling good about myself. And she said, well, you only got a few more points to go before you can get to 782. And she kind of put me in my spot. But yeah, she's kind of a legendary North Mississippi basketball player. My dad started at point guard for Mississippi State about that time also.
So, coming from a very athletic family, when did you know that young Joe was going to be a pro? When did you know it as a parent?
Well, I guess I was always hopeful, but actually think my son was going to be a professional quarterback probably didn't happen until when he signed a football scholarship with Ohio State. I said, he's going to go play quarterback at the highest level, and he'll have an opportunity. But as far back as third grade, and that's when he became a quarterback and was a quarterback from then on. I mean, and he was really a heck of a baseball and basketball player. I mean, I saw, the athletic ability that he had. I saw leadership skills that he had, which is kind of unusual probably at a young age. But being a coach, I think I was able to see that. But to really think, hey, Joe was going to be a quarterback in the NFL, that was kind of still a dream as far into his career as Ohio State. So I can't really say, yeah, I knew. And when he was a senior, he was going to be a NFL player. That really wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm. And one question, I know the other guys want to jump in, but when you see your son out there, and it seems like nothing can faze him. I have never seen anything faze him. Was he like that all the time growing up, where nothing phases him?
He was. I mean, that's his personality kind of off the field also, and it carries over onto the field. And the one thing he would tell you is that at all the levels, he always had great coaches. And he says a lot of that that he shows on the field is because of the preparation that he do during the week and practice. And he always says, if you're prepared, for the game plan and what you see and what you're going against, then you are calm on game day. And he's always been that way. It's there's plays that happen now in the NFL that, people here in town say, well, I saw that against Nelsonville and when he was a junior. I saw that against Alexander when he was a senior. And it's kind of crazy, but that personality is always carried over.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Devin, why don't you get yourself acquainted with Mr. Burrow?
How you doing, Mr. Burrow?
How are you tonight?
Very good. I'm a huge fan of your son. I'm an Alabama fan, first of all. So
well, we're not going to hold that against you since you're a Joe fan too. So.
But
I grew up in the South. I know all about Alabama football, so I'm good.
Oh yeah, but I thought his coming out moment was the game at Alabama his last year. That was billed as the game of the year. Game of the century part 2, and he was unflappable. I mean, he literally I don't think they punted the whole day. And that I just sat there and I went, he just came into Bryant-Denny Stadium and put up 46 points and didn't punt. That doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen to a Nick Saban defense. And that's when I knew. I said, this kid is different. He's different.
And you ask maybe about the professional when I knew that was unbelievable. The atmosphere. I'd grown up 130 miles from there in Mississippi, so I'd always respected Alabama football. And the president of the United States is there, and they're going crazy playing Sweet Home Alabama. But that was probably the game where I definitely said, Joe can play quarterback in the NFL. So that was quite a night for Joe and LSU and our whole family.
One more question real quick. National championship night when Skolsky hit him dirty and you could see he was hurt, but he didn't show it. What did you think when he got hit? Because he got up and he looked like he didn't know where he was for a second, but then he got himself together real quick, and after the next possession, he was back to being Joe Cool. But what did you think of that? That showed that. I mean, I know you knew he was tough, but that hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you got a minute, this is an interesting story. So President Trump, whether you like him or not, he had invited Rob and I to come to his suite at halftime. He wanted to meet Joe Burrow's parents. So we're kind of moving in the direction to go to the elevator, and I see him take that hit, throw the touchdown to I think Thaddeus Moss, Randy Moss's son. So we go get introduced to President Trump, and then we come back, and everybody's saying, "Hey, is Joe okay?" Or is he going to be able to play? And we really, we saw the hit, but we really didn't hang around to see that he was hurt on the sidelines or anything. So we're getting back down there, and all these people are asking us, and so that was kind of the first I'd heard of it. But then as I saw and talked to more and more people, I knew that it was a big hit. They said, "Hey, he came back out before the team to ride on the bicycle," which is not normal. Joe's such a big team guy. For him not to come out with a team, I knew something was wrong, but to bounce back like he did and play as he did the second half, once again, credit to Joe and LSU and their coaches. They did a great job. It was one of the more fun times of Joe's career for us too, as a family.
Mr. Burrow, we're going to bring in Big Tony. We're going to bring in Big Tony.
Trump either, by the way. So that's a new one.
We're going to bring in Big Tony. I know you've been hearing his voice for a while, but get in here, Tony.
How you doing, Mr. Burrow?
Hey, Tony. How are you?
All right. Listen, I wanted to kind of end this because we've spoken about football. We talked about football. But when I met you at the Heisman in December of 2019, the first thing I told you is that your son's speech was my favorite of all time, besides Capoletti, because of what was happening when his brother died.
Yeah.
What your son did that night and what he said that night, that made me a fan. And we started our show the next year, and that picture is the first picture I put up with your son and I at the Heisman. That what people don't understand, what your son did, it said a lot about his parents and how he was raised. To take the most important moment of your life and to talk about others that are having problems, that right there, sir, I wanted to make sure that we saw that and we see it, and thank you, because that was hell of a job.
Well, I appreciate it. We had no idea where his speech was going that night. We had no idea he was going to walk across the aisle and after he'd hugged all of us and hugged the Ohio State guys, because he knows they had a part in what he had accomplished also. And then that particular night, that speech, Tony, 31 seconds that he devoted to the hunger problems in Southeast Ohio. And the next day, a guy here in town started a GoFundMe that eventually developed into the Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Fund here in Southeast Ohio and Athens. There's now $1.8 million in that fund. And
amazing. That's great.
That kind of the offshoot of that is our Joe Burrow Foundation, which we launched in October, and it's different from the Hunger Relief Fund because we can we're able to be able to help people out in Baton Rouge and Cincinnati and other parts of Louisiana and Ohio. So that 31 seconds, we were so proud of him that particular night, and just a little plug, Joe Burrow the Hunger Relief Fund. You can always do that. But our new Joe Burrow Foundation, you can go to joeburrow.org and read all about the good things we're doing with his foundation. So please do that.
Thank you so much.
Wanted to ask you one thing, Mr. Burrow.
Okay.
This is from one of our texters. He wants to know what your favorite nickname for Joe is, because he's starting to come. He started. Well, the one that we have on our show is he's Tony's nephew. That's Tony is trying. That's because listen,
yeah,
this is a sports podcast, and sometimes I do have to criticize Joe Burrow, but then Tony won't let me. Because Tony's in the tank.
My favorite media person now after that. No, we read them all. I've seen people ask Joe that. He seems to like Joe Shiesty. To us, growing up, he's just been JoJo to us. So
nice.
That's my his mom and I's favorite. We don't call him that around his friends and other people, but we're going to stick with that. But there's a lot of them out there. It's amazing. They appear all the time. And but again, it's just once again, it goes back to his demeanor and personality on the field, I think, and a lot of people like that.
One more for me. Yeah, one more for me, and I'll let the fellas do the rest. But at the Super Bowl, I saw a nice moment between Pat Mahomes and his dad, as Pat comes off the field and, the confetti's flying down and everything. There's going to be many more moments for Joe. Okay. It's no question in my mind. And I know that's no question in your mind as well. But up to now, what's your favorite on field or him coming off the field moment between you and him, or you and him and the family?
Well, I'd say there's several, but one of the ones that means the most to me is, I think he'd thrown like 7 touchdown passes in the freezing cold at Buckeye Stadium there at Columbus in the state championship game. And I knew he was down. So the security people let me down on the field, and I was able to basically walk off the field with him there. And in a time when I knew he was hurting as much as he probably ever had in sports. So that's a great moment, and for me to be able to be there and comfort him when he was introduced at LSU on senior night for his mom and I, and we had all kind of family down there. That's unbelievably special for us. And then you get in the NFL, and the Chiefs' victory last year to go to the Super Bowl was awesome. And so, like you said, there's going to be a lot more in the future, and there's still
no question
in the past, but there's a few here and there that are more special than others.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jody.
Well, I'm a father, I have a junior myself, and you're good in basketball, but Joe was all state. Has he ever beat you in one-on-one?
Well, he would tell you that I never beat him in one-on-one, but I don't know about that. But I could shoot, but when it came to driving and beating people one-on-one, I was what do they call them now? I'm an off guard, whatever number they use for that. I was a shooter. Joe could handle the ball and shoot. There's a great clip on the internet of him hitting like 9 out of 10 in a basketball shoot off against Oklahoma in the semifinal championship. They had some things going on during the week. He hadn't picked up a basketball in 2 years, hit 9 out of 10 threes. So I'd like to say he learned that from me, but I don't know that I beat him too much after maybe 12 years old in one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a Midwestern guy. Actually, I'm right here in Dayton, Ohio, so I'm not too far away from it. So I'm like right in the middle. What is one of your favorite rivalries for your son, the games you want to go to? What's the games that you look forward to when he's playing in?
Well, I look forward to the Browns game. I mean, we had struggled against Cleveland up until that last game, and so I think that's a great rivalry. Really, the AFC North. What's not a rivalry between Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and the Bengals. So all of those are awesome. Certainly in at LSU, you always look forward to the Alabama, the A&M, or the Ole Miss games, and I like it when he's playing, the great quarterbacks. Tom Brady this year, that was a big moment for me to be able to watch that at Tampa and those games against Mahomes. So, the bigger the competition, the better the quarterback. Those are the ones I like.
Yeah.
Wow.
With it.
Hey, Devin, you're getting quiet over there, man. What you got?
I'm just listening, man. I mean, there aren't many quarterbacks that can say they've won games at Bryant Denny, Buffalo Stadium, and Arrowhead. He's done all that
True
already.
that.
So I mean, he's had his 4-year run here with the national championship, getting hurt, coming back, comeback player of the year, winning, getting them to the Super Bowl, and literally seconds away from a second Super Bowl and a second win in Arrowhead in back-to-back years. I mean, the resume is growing. I mean, it's already got a lot on it, and it's going to continue to have things, added to it, because when you look at the league, you see Mahomes, you see Burrow, you see Allen, you see Watson, now he's back, you see Lamar Jackson, you see these great young quarterbacks. But if there was a tier, the tier that there's only the high tier is only 3 guys, and that would probably be Allen, Mahomes, and Burrow. That's the tier that everyone is trying to figure out how to get into, in my opinion. And you look at it, he's 4-1 against the Mahomes and Allen guys. I mean, he's got a good record against them, and he's been good in pretty much every one of them games. And he's just unflappable. He reminds me of Joe Montana. He's so unassuming. He doesn't look rattled. You blitz him, you do all the stuff you want to do, and he just stands back there. He makes throws. And the thing I think a lot of people didn't understand, and I had watched him in high school and at Ohio State through some of their his earlier years there, he's super athletic. Like, he can move. He's very, very, very mobile. And you don't think that looking at a guy throwing the football like he does. Usually a guy that throws it like him and Mahomes don't move as well, and Josh Allen, they don't move that well. So that's what's special about players like him. So I just enjoy watching. He's a treat to watch. He really is.
Well, I think it's got, he's almost 6'4", and he is athletic, so he's able to make people miss, and his pocket presence allows him to move out and gain yards running the ball, and also create plays off the platform. And again, though, his success, he'd be the first to tell you, and I'm a coach, I know it's not just Joe. Those guys do a great job of coaching Joe and the offense. And one of my favorite coaches is Lou Anarumo on defense. So you put all those guys together, and then the front office has done a very good job of filling in the pieces. And, there's a lot of work to still be done with free agency and all that. But it's a team effort over there in Cincinnati, and that whole organization, players, coaches, front office have bought into the fact that we do have something special here, and there's still a lot more to accomplish in the future for sure.
Mr. Burrows, if I jump in, I just got a quick question that I really want to know. How much input did you have in the draft when Jamar Chase was available?
Yeah, let's ask that. That's a good question.
How much impact? Because that duo could go down as one of the best duos that we ever seen.
Well, I don't get involved in their decisions. Joe and I talked, and certainly we both wanted Jamar. We're friends of the family, and I'd seen him firsthand, and I knew how much he could change the dynamics of an offense. And but I never put in any calls to the Bengals. I think they asked Joe, and I think Joe certainly knew Joe thought he was a piece that could be added that would create even more explosion on their offense, and that was correct. The other good thing about Jamar is his character is good. He's a very smart receiver. He cares about not just himself personally, but he cares about the team, and it all added up to like, hey, hey, you got to draft Jamar. And I know at the time a lot of people thought the offensive tackle Sewell, who's an awesome player, probably a future Hall of Famer, but Jamar was the guy that fit Joe and fit our offense and fit what we needed at the time.
Now,
you bring up a great point. You bring up a great point, Mr. Burrow. Sometimes you don't have to do things that are in the box. In other words, we thought on the draft show that conventional wisdom would have been to take Sewell. And I use conventional wisdom in that how we've seen it done in the past. The Bengals did it a little different, and it's paid dividends.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Joe's career, and he didn't have a straight line to get to LSU. Obviously, going to Ohio State, then the transfer. Having your influence there or having your guidance in, hey, Dad, what should I do?
Yeah.
You being there and having that calming influence and then making the best decision possible for your child. We have a lot of people that watch the show with kids that are in certain levels of sports where they're maybe trying to get their kid recruited or their kids in school and maybe things aren't going the way that they might think they should. What was your guidance with Joe as far as making the decision from moving from Ohio State and then getting to LSU?
Well, first of all, as a parent, no matter what, there's going to be ups and downs in your son or daughter's careers, whether, again, it's grade school, middle school, high school, and you just got to be supportive, make sure they have all the things that are necessary for them to be the best they can if they want to work and do a certain sport. The Ohio State experience was tough on Joe. It was tough on us as a mom and dad because we knew that he wasn't playing. We knew that we all thought that he hopefully would be given an opportunity, but we tried to just tell him to keep working hard and being a team player and doing what he needed to do to get himself better and be available for that opportunity that really never came at Ohio State. So when we started talking about transferring in January, but I had reached out to a lot of my coaching friends to say, what if? And so we had a plan. We came up with a plan, but he's such a competitor. He wanted to compete in the spring against Dwayne, and he's, in his mind, he still thought that he was going to be the next quarterback at Ohio State. So we just tried to stay positive, but from January on, we had a plan of how to proceed if it didn't work out, and then I kind of ran point on a lot of different people that were interested in Joe. Once he said he was transferring, we tried to sort it out, what's best for Joe and where the opportunities were for him to be the best quarterback that he can be. And the bottom line was, of all the people that reached out to either me or Joe, he wanted to go somewhere where his goal was always to win a national championship. He thought he was going to do it at Ohio State. It didn't work out. He loved Cincinnati and Luke Fickell. That was a tough decision not to go there, but he felt LSU was the place he could win a national championship, and he wanted to play against the best of the best, and that was the SEC. So we just tried to be there for him. We had a lot of different conversations about it. We went on the official visit with him. I thought at the time he was still leaning towards Cincinnati, but again, just the chance to play for a national championship, he thought was best at LSU. But it wasn't easy. I wouldn't hope that parents and families have to go through anything like that. Although, I mean, there's a lot of other things that are worse. But when your son is struggling and needs to transfer, I mean, it's 70 miles from Athens. So for us, hey, you're going all the way to LSU. It was just something we had to come to grips with, but we felt that was the best place for him.
Tony,
I got it. Hold on, real quick, Tony. I got to ask this question too, because I'm going to ask the question that I think. How did you feel when the lead had said Kansas City and Buffalo were selling tickets already to play in the neutral site, and they hadn't even played the Bengals yet? I know you're a big Bengal fan. Now, how did you feel as a fan?
Well, I didn't think that was the right thing to do. I mean, Joe always likes to play with a little chip on his shoulder, so I'm sure he and his teammates looked at that as a slap in the face. I mean, in my opinion, not only if the Bills had won against the Chiefs, that game was going to be on a neutral site. I'll always believe that the Chiefs and the Bengals game should have also been on a neutral site.
Absolutely.
That's not why the Bengals lost, but I thought I could see their reasoning for the Bills and the Chiefs, but I also thought there was a good reason and to back up the fact that game should be at a neutral site also.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. I just saw a level of disrespect. And the crazy thing is, like, I'm a Browns fan, but I find myself cheering for Joe Burrow because I'm Ohio State fan too. So when he left Ohio State, I was like, oh man, I was like, oh, this is not good. But I just love the fact that he has the success. I just don't want him to have success when it's the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, I can respect that. I mean, I have friends here in town that say when they play the Browns, they hope Joe throws for 400 yards, 5 TDs, and they get beat. So I've heard it all. I respect the true fans, and you sound like you're one of them.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Burrow, we wanna thank you for tonight, and because we have a lot of people watching. You've educated a lot of our parents on what to do, how to kind of handle these situations, because it seemed like you guys have been real cool on handling the situations. It didn't seem like anything is bothering you. I was looking at your card. That you're a defensive coordinator, right? Do you think that may help your son being prepared, because you're trying to tell him what they're going to do against them? Do you think that's probably helped them a little bit in his football life?
Yeah, a lot of people think we just grinded away at film all the time, but that's not the case. We did watch some film of his games. I didn't get to see all of them, especially in third, fourth, fifth grade. So we would sit down and I'd say, hey, you want to watch the game? I haven't been able to watch it. I never wanted him to think, I was going to sit there and say, hey, you should have done this, you should have done that. I wanted it to be fun. So we had fun watching film. But I think we talk about coverage at times, but I think he went to so many games where I was the safety coach, the coordinator on defense, that he gravitated probably whether he was at the game or watching our game on TV, he gravitated to watch, the side of the ball that I was responsible for. So as a result of that, he did know, what a 3-deep zone was and a 2-deep zone and a blitz and those type things. And so there's some truth to the fact that, Joe growing up in a coaching family with me as a coach, I'm sure there were things that he picked up along the way. And as I said, I always go back to that helped, but he had great coaches really from third grade on that understood defense, understood, what the quarterback was supposed to be looking for. And, you think about it at the middle school, grade school, high school, Ohio State, LSU, and the Bengals, he's had great people to further his knowledge of what he's looking for out there.
Okay.
I got one more question. This is my last one. We always talk about Joe Burrow, and the young people call it drip, how he dresses, his swagger. And it looked like he got it from you, because I like what you got on.
Well,
so you think that he got his style from you?
I'm gonna say probably not, but his mom, she's a principal now at elementary school. She went back. She has 2 different degrees, and her first one was fashion merchandising. So I think the way she dresses and the way she likes to, she always dressed Joe as he was growing up. He probably got it from there because I'm sure he would say that his dad is normally in something to do with athletics and some of those suits and things that I've seen him in. you would never catch me in that. So I'm going to say he got that from his mom. All right.
So you just threw her under the bus.
Oh no.
You wouldn't see me in that flowered green suit that I saw at one of the games or some of those things. But he likes to, and if you saw him just hanging out or in wherever he is, he probably wouldn't be somebody you'd say, well, he really likes the fashion side of clothes. But on game day and travel day, he likes to look confident and he likes to look good. So I like what he looks like most of the time.
Well, we thank you. All right, Dave. We're good?
Yeah, I think we're great.
We're great.
Thanks for being on the show. Unless you want to hang out.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, my wife had a board meeting tonight at school, and she's just now getting home, so we're going to have a late dinner. But
All right.
I appreciate you guys have me on, and sounds like you guys have a lot of fun with what you're doing, and that's always good.
We appreciate you, Mr. Burrow. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey. And to all
That
the
was
fans
awesome.
out there, hey, Who Day, right?
No.
Who Day? We had a couple more.
All right, Who Day. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
All right.
Burrow.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Jim Burrow, ladies and gents. Thanks for joining the show. Guys, I see where Joe gets it from.
Yeah.
That's got to be where it comes from. Just it's interesting when you meet somebody, meet an athlete's father or their mom, and you kind of see some of the pieces and parts that kind of come together to make up that athlete. The thing that I appreciated most about Mr. Burrow was just the calmness as far as helping his son make that decision and assessing the decision from a coach's standpoint and having to separate out being a dad. When you're a father and your kid is struggling or you think he or she wants to transfer, the automatic thing most of us want to do is make the child happy, right? But he did it the way that, they came up with a plan. This is what we're going to do. You're going to fight your way on the field and try to make your way on the field in spring ball, okay? If that doesn't work out, if you don't feel like you're going to get an opportunity, then we can put something else in motion. A lot of people tend to throw the baby away with the bathwater. Oh, we're transferring, and away we go. Mm-hmm. They did it a different way. And the thing I appreciate about this show, this forum that it gives us, is a chance to show other people that you don't have to have a straight line to success. There's no such thing. There's going to be twists in the road. You know what I mean? Devin, you run into situations where you've got kids that you're working with when you're coaching, where they don't have that straight line in their learning curve, right? They plateau here and we've hit a brick wall here. We got an obstacle we have to get over. You see what I mean? And having those kids persevere and get to that next level, and then what it helps them in college.
All the time. Mm-hmm. You get a kid like that all the time, if not multiple kids. I mean, Corey Dykes, who's at Maryland, had that problem for a minute. He, that senior year, he had committed to Maryland, and there was some questions on what they were going to do with him, and he was listening to other schools and talking about decommitting at one time, maybe even going to play for Illinois and Lovey. And I hipped him and I said, Lovey's getting fired. Don't go there. And Lovey got fired. And he thought, he didn't know. It was more so what he didn't know what Maryland wanted to do with him. He didn't know what their plan was. And, I just told him, I said, you got to trust the process. And the process has paid off, for him. He's in his fourth year now coming up there. And I don't think he's got anything to worry about. I think he made the right decision. I mean, he's got a good chance to go pro. And, you look at the hybrid tight ends they put in the league, and he fits the boat for what they can do. Hybrid tight end, receiver type. And I expect, but he's mentioned that a few times. He said, I was literally considering going to Illinois. It was really close for me to decommit because I think Maryland had said his first year they made gray shirt him. And he was like, I don't want to be gray shirted. And of course, Lovey was like, hey, you're not going to worry about that. Come here. But I said, Lovey went like 2-10. He's getting fired. Don't go there.
Unfortunately.
And we did a Zoom with Lovey, and we did a Zoom with Lovey's running back coach and some other guys. And they were saying all the right stuff. And we got off that Zoom. I said, my point of view, he'll be fired. Don't go there. And Lovey got fired. But that was him. It's been a handful of other ones, but I mainly talk about him because of his journey and how he didn't play Pop Warner football his whole life. He just played football when he got to high school.
That's amazing.
He's just a freak of nature.
Mhm.
Basketball, he's a basketball kid.
Right.
Just a freak.
Hey,
on the
Jody.
football field,
Hey, Jody, man, you were having personal conversations. You know what I loved about the interview with Mr. Burrow is that Deb, your team is his rival, and Jody, your team is his rival, and he's just like real cool. He like, well, whatever. Man, you have some fathers get on here like me. I'll be in here ready to throw hands.
They come back at you
because both of your teams were trying to kill his son. I mean,
Shown up.
really, let's be honest.
Shown up.
I mean, both of your teams were trying to kill his son. So he's just sitting here like, Joe gets that from his dad. His dad is very cool. I mean, that was a very cool customer right there. It just flowed. So you guys know, we didn't practice any of these questions, or we didn't come up with, this was like that. And his dad was like that. So
you know what, Tony and Dev and Dave alluded to it. If you look at all the quarterbacks in the NFL, the top quarterbacks, they've been through some type of adversity. You go to Joe Burrows having to transfer from Ohio State to LSU, not really playing that well his first year at LSU. Let's keep that in mind. He didn't really play the level that he played his senior year and came out to be the Heisman, be the #1 draft pick. Patrick Mahomes, people really didn't look at Patrick Mahomes like that because if he did, he wouldn't have went so late in the draft according to what quarterback he is. We know about Deshaun Watson's struggle. We know about Russell Wilson's struggle. We know about Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. All those guys have something similar in common. Even Aaron Rodgers going so late in the first round when he was projected to be the first pick of the draft. So when you look at that, Lamar Jackson was always told that he couldn't do
Josh
it.
Allen
folks was constantly moved. Josh Allen, a guy they said was too raw, couldn't play at this level. So the quarterbacks I'm seeing and what I love about these young quarterbacks is that they battled adversity. And Joe Burrows is like he's like the spokesperson for the quarterbacks battling that type of adversity and being able to overcome it. And his dad is epitome of, you could tell that they have very intimate conversations where I know by just talking to his dad, Mr. Burrows, that Joe has the utmost respect for his pops, man. So that's what I loved about the interview, man, because I can tell where he gets a lot of his demeanor from off of that
Let's
interview.
think about this also, guys. His dad has the actual know-how, from a coaching aspect, and he's played football at a high level. So, for someone like myself, I'm trying to advise my son on potentially walking on in baseball and all of that stuff. I don't know anything about that. I didn't play at that level. I have to reach out to coaches, people that know this stuff, to give me guidance. You see what I mean? Joe had that guidance right there in the household. You see what I mean? So that's really a luxury, that Joe had, having that great family structure around him.
But you notice the question I asked him when I said 3 years ago, I said the best defensive coordinator from a player that's playing would be Tom Brady. And I said the best offensive coordinator would be Ray Lewis. I said, because you have to think the opposite way. And he just said his son looking at the coverages, he's knowing whatever. That helped his son play quarterback, that his dad's a defensive coordinator and works with the safeties and the corners. Because he's probably telling them, hey, they're looking at this. When they do this, we teaching them this, we teaching them that. Those little small things probably made his son a better quarterback. Because you heard him say his son knew the coverages. And that means a lot. If you don't know football, knowing coverages, knowing how to disguise coverages, those are big things for a quarterback. And if you check Burrow out when he comes to the line, I mean, he got the best coaching now, but he's been doing that for years and years now, obviously. So, I mean, it does help. And like you said, David, having someone who's been on that high level of playing too helps. And, hopefully our parents were looking tonight and you told them, he said something about the adversity. How you going to handle it? He said it was hard, but you see them, they got through that. They got through it. most people ain't gonna end up with a Heisman like them, or about to break the NFL bank. But you never know.
Well,
You never know. And
all I can say
just
is
keep working.
all I can say is that we talked about on a previous show here on the TD Report, where our guest was Jim Burrow, Joe Burrow's dad, a great guest, one of our better guests that we've had. We talked about how there's Pat Mahomes at this level, okay? And it's really hard to get up there because the air is really thin. You see what I'm saying? It's hard to breathe up there. If I had to put another quarterback up there, I've got to put Joe Burrow in that category, up in that level. Does he have the 2 Super Bowls? Does he have the MVPs? Does he have that? Like I told his dad, I think there are better days, even bigger days ahead for Joe Burrow. But what we have the makings of here in the AFC alone is darn near a round robin of great young quarterbacks. They're all going to be trying. Mahomes is at the top. They're all going to be trying to get what Pat Mahomes has. And that is going to up the ante as far as if you're a GM of a team, below the Chiefs, which is basically everybody else. How are we going to get to that level? How do we get to their level? How do we beat those guys? They're the standard now. When you set the standard like that, everyone's gunning for you.
I'm gonna say this, and it's about to make my stomach turn. But the Bengals, it's gonna make my hold on. I can't even say it. It's gonna make my stomach.
You gotta say it. No, you can't do that to us. No. You gotta say
Bengals. The way the Bengals are built, they're built similar to what Kansas City doing now. Of course, they don't have all those rookies playing all those snaps, but if you look about their core, you got Burrow, you got Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase on an even day could be arguably the best receiver in the NFL. I mean, I know we talked about Devontae Adams, of course, and Justin Jefferson, his counterpart that played at LSU, but Jamar Chase is a playmaker and he's a gamer. Stephon Diggs, and then you look at the Joe Mixons, and I know their line is a little beat up, but they'll figure that out. The Bengals, I hate to say
their line actually played better at the end of the year.
Yeah, they did.
They're actually pretty good,
but they couldn't block Chris Jones, and they couldn't block Hart. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, I hate to say it, but the Bengals. I hate to say this, but the Bengals gonna be good for a long time.
But hey, it's that salary cap though, and we didn't talk to Mr. Burrow. The elephant in the room was we ain't talk about that extension that could blow it up.
I wasn't touching that.
Nah.
You wasn't touching that.
I ain't touching that.
But that elephant in the room.
He might not come on the show no more if I did that. I don't count the man's pockets.
Yeah, but you know what, Tony?
Yeah.
The difference is what you always say is, and Deb, we talk about this off camera a lot. A lot of times people don't understand when you have a good quarterback at that level, they can make up for those mistakes of the salary cap. That's the reason why you pay those quarterbacks those astronomical dollars, like a Pat Mahomes, like a Joe Burrow, like a Jalen Hurts, because Aaron Rodgers erased a lot of mistakes that the defense did. And that's what you pay those quarterbacks those big money for. You don't want to pay that quarterback those major dollars, and they can't make up the gaps. They can't make up those gaps.
I thought they paid them all that money so they could date supermodels.
I mean, that too. I mean, Holly Berry, I still got her on speed dial for you, so don't even worry. Don't even worry.
Hey,
man, tell Hallie payday is Friday. What's up?
Hey, that was cool tonight, Deb. You the quarterback guru of the group.
You were sitting back. You were sitting back like, he put 44 on my boys and just walked.
I was listening, man. Yeah.
He was a very interesting interview. It was a very interesting interview.
You could see why Joe is so calm and cool because he was very just very laid back about everything, and you can see that's why Joe is like that. And you getting back to Joe and that Bengals team, the key gonna be they're gonna keep chasing Burrow. The key gonna be T. Higgins. That's the guy that is gonna make or break what they're gonna be long term because if they can keep him as their second receiver, because he's a top 2 or 3, number 2 in the league. The kid is special, and keeping him is vital because it allows teams to not be able to just concentrate on Chase. And people always say, you can find another Higgins. No, you can't. You can't find 6'4" that run like that and high points the ball better than probably anybody in football right now. He high points the football. That's something you can't teach. So. I think when you got a guy like that, he's got to become a cornerstone, because if you're looking at what you're looking to do offensively, you know, Mixon, Burrow, him, Chase, and those four
Tyler
have to
Boyd.
always be on the
Yep.
roster for you to be a consistent thorn in the Chiefs side and a thorn for the AFC as a whole, because any of them pieces aren't there, the Bengals aren't nearly as dangerous. They're not nearly as scary, because you need all of them to work. Because Higgins has been more of a problem against the Chiefs, more so
Mhm.
than Chase. If you look at their record, he's had better games against the Chiefs than Chase has overall.
Well,
Hey,
that-
Dave,
and
can I
that's-
ask y'all something real quick? Can I get Jody and Mr. Burrow each week to go at each other for their teams for Ohio, so they can
Listen.
come at each other, get them on? Let me get Mr. Burrow on here. 5 minutes once a week. So
I
they
think
can
he
go at
enjoyed.
each other,
I think
so they can kind of get this Cincinnati Cleveland thing going.
I think he enjoyed picking up. I think he enjoyed picking at Jody about that a little
He
bit.
did
I think
enjoy
I
picking
think he
with
did
Jody.
enjoy that.
He did. He said, "Do Cleveland still have a team?" I was like, "Oh, I didn't expect that one." So, but like
He came out
I
swinging.
keep saying this about what Dev said about the demeanor. I think that's how Joe Burrow is. I think he's that kind of guy that's real quiet. He said he hit you with a shuttle shot, like but you can't get mad at him, because name somebody that don't like Joe Burrow. I'm a Cleveland fan and I like him. Like
I
love the kid.
It's
No, I
like
love the
nothing
kid.
I love
not to
him.
like about the kid.
Yeah,
And here's the thing. I said that 2 years ago on this show, back when we first started, Tony. I was like, I love the kid. He's out there, he's getting the crap beat out of him, with that offensive line problems. He's one of the most hit quarterbacks in football, and he just keeps coming back. He just
Dude
keeps
got
coming.
sacked. Dude got sacked 19 times during that playoff run. 19
Yes.
times.
and
That's
still
right.
made the Super Bowl.
9 by the Titans. The Titans got him 9 times.
The
and he
Titans
still
got him
beat
9
them.
times and
And he
lost.
beat him. And he never once threw that O-line under the bus. He never
Love that
once
kid.
said, all he said was, I got to get rid of the ball better. I got to help them by setting the protections better. He never once said, these dudes are ass and they can't block. He never once said that. All he kept saying was, I. He took all the heat. And it wasn't his fault. These guys just could. He would take the snap and the Tennessee guys were right in his face. And he said it's his fault. I'm just like, this dude's amazing, man. He's amazing.
It reminds me of an old Johnny Unitas joke where Johnny Unitas got sacked like 8 times in the game, and his offensive line was terrible. Guy comes back there, defensive tackle comes back there, cleans his clock, and one of the offensive linemen is helping him up. He's like, "Was that your guy?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, Johnny." He's like, "Don't worry, you'll block him next time." So that's literally what Joe Burrow was going through. He's just getting pounded, and when I see a quarterback get pounded like that, I say, "Hey, man, just use your legs, buddy. Just get out of there." And Joe can do that. If he had to, he can run that football. He can get out of trouble and scramble and make plays. So as we look into this NFL draft coming up, and I want to segue on this, a lot of chatter today on multiple channels, multiple blogs. NFL guys have come away from the activities from Senior Bowl and so on and so forth with the possibility they think that Chicago is going to trade Justin Fields. What do we think about that? Is that smoke? Because these are NFL execs saying this. Is this smoke? Is this posturing before the draft? Or is there any truth to this rumor?
They have the number 1 pick, don't they?
Yeah.
What's that?
They have the number 1 pick, don't they?
Yeah.
Chicago's sitting with the number 1 pick, $92 million of cap space.
I'm
And a quarterback on a
gonna say
rookie
this.
deal.
As much as I love Stroud and Bryce Young, I'm not trading him and taking one of them.
Thank
He's
you.
built for that weather. He's built for what they're trying to do. He proved last year that with a terrible roster, he still fought every week and made plays. And I think Ryan Poles said it best. He said, I would have to be blown away by one of these prospects to move Justin Fields. I wrote the piece, and he said, you would have to blow me out of the water at not just combine, pro day, meetings. It's going to take 4 or 5 steps for you to blow me away. One step of you throwing a football with shorts on isn't going to blow me away. I need this, meetings. And for him, he had the choice of GM jobs. Remember, he had the Vikings job and he had the Bears. He chose the Bears, and Kwesi, the other guy, chose the Vikings after that. So Poles was the guy everybody wanted. And why did Poles choose the Bears when he could have chose the Vikings with Kirk Cousins? Because he saw a young, promising quarterback that he could work with, and he's been in that Kansas City environment. He's saying, this is the guy that reminds me of Mahomes of how they did him. He wasn't good enough. We didn't think he could play. He should have went higher. So he's going to look at this and go, I'm going to make this the Pat Mahomes situation in Chicago. I think Ryan Poles looks at that as, I'm going to prove to you guys that this kid is the right guy. I don't think you can move him and go Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. And I think they're both great. I think they'd be better off in Houston and Indianapolis. I just think you need to keep Justin. Young and Stroud would need so much more on that offensive line because they don't move as well as Justin Fields. So you put them behind that line, they're going to be punch drunk before they even get started.
Yeah, that's not.
See, Justin Fields is a little thicker. He's a little more physical. He can handle a little bit more of a beating right now. And I just think in the long term, they all going to be good, but Fields' legs is going to set him apart. You can't teach what he can do with them legs. You can't teach that.
Sure.
You can't teach it, man.
He had a run against Dallas. Where one of the rare times when you see Micah Parsons miss a tackle the way he missed it and ran for like 30. He ran for like 20 to 30 yards. And even Parsons had to be like, wow, okay.
He put a move on Montez Sweat on that Thursday night game that Montez Sweat was reaching for the air.
Yeah, he was
on and I'm looking at Sweat like, you're an athletic end, and he made you like you weren't even standing there. The kid is special. He just needs time. He showed some promise. And part of the problem is that year at Georgia really hurt him. He needed to be at Ohio State from day one. Year at Georgia, sitting there waiting to play, it did not help him. He needed that year of development. But I just don't see why the Bears would move on from him after what he showed. He showed maturity. Not one time. The only time he showed a little frustration is one interview I saw him go, he said, we down bad, man. That's what he said, but he wasn't lying.
Well,
we down bad. He said, we got a long way to go.
He's a quarterback. He can't say that.
And I'm just saying to myself, he can't say that, but he's 22. He is in a terrible situation. He's 22.
Okay.
He's in a terrible situation, 22 or 23. He's in a terrible situation as far as talent. Your best receiver should be your third receiver. That guy's a 3. He's not a 1. Darnell Mooney is not a 1. He's a 3.
No.
You know,
and that's no disrespect to the kid. That's no disrespect to the kid at all.
He'd be a great 3 on any team, but he's the number 1 in Chicago. And Fields still had 25 total touchdowns on a team that I think they scored 34 as a team, and he accounted for 25 of them. That's how bad it was in Chicago.
Jody, that's a good point. Thanks, Devin. That's great. Jody, you've got a quarterback that's been responsible for 25 of your 34 touchdowns. If you did move him, what do you have to bring back? Because I know I'm a financial auditor, but 34 minus 25 is 9, and you ain't going to win many games if you only score 9 touchdowns with your offense.
Dave, what time is it on the show? Because you know what time it's about to be, right? You understand?
Yeah.
Y'all know what time it's about to be. This is what time it's about to be. First and foremost, I'm sick and tired of these quarterbacks. All of a sudden, why are you trying to deal him? I didn't hear y'all trying to deal Daniel Jones. I didn't hear none of that. I didn't hear y'all want to deal Kirk Cousins. I didn't hear none of that. I don't hear y'all want to trade Justin Herbert. I don't hear none of that. All I hear is trading the guy that went out there and gave you everything that he had week in and week out. Put his body on the line, knowing that offensive line wasn't good, knowing that he was young, knowing that he was raw. He missed a few passes. Okay, who hasn't? Chicago was tanking a lot of those games because they traded away everybody. You get rid of Roquan Smith. You get rid of Robert Quinn. You basically said, look, I'm throwing up the white flag. I don't want to defend anybody. You don't get that man no wide receiver help. You let Allen Robinson go. You didn't re-sign Allen Robinson, a guy that had a lot of success in Chicago. Go look it up. Had 100 catches, 90 catch season. You stripped this man of all his weapons, every last one of his weapons, and then say, oh, now I want to trade you? I don't hear that in other places. I don't hear that in Jacksonville. Y'all didn't want to get rid of Trevor Lawrence when he had a bad year last year.
You can't get rid of the golden child.
This is what makes it so. Y'all ain't even talking about trading Zach Wilson in New York. Man, get out of here with that, man.
He's right. He's right.
Kind of right.
I mean, honestly, we should end the show on that.
Yeah, we should end the show on that.
I mean,
we end the show on that.
Listen, what more can you know what? I'm gonna have to change my tune on this one. This would be a stupid trade to make. If you're Chicago, this is stupid. Why are we even discussing it? I'm sorry. You're right, Jody.
The only way it wouldn't be
I don't piss
stupid
Jody off.
unless you had Dan Marino coming getting drafted. Somebody with a strong arm for that win and that outdoors. If
Tony,
or Ryan Poles convinced Andy Reid to send Patrick Mahomes
exactly.
or something like that. You know,
honestly,
come on, man.
You would have to get for me to get rid of Justin Fields at this point. You would have to give me Pat Mahomes and Rihanna and some picks.
Now we
don't
some
understand.
picks.
I just don't understand it. But it's the smoke and mirrors are heavy. This is what they do. They got to keep the Super Bowl just ended. It's a couple of weeks until the combine. It's a little slow news and stuff. So we got to find something to keep people's attention. So let's talk about Justin Fields being traded, knowing Ryan Poles isn't even considering that. I just don't. When Ryan Poles talks, he does not have anything. He doesn't sound like anything that these GMs are saying it. And I'm like, until the man in Chicago and Hallis Hall says it, I don't want to hear it, because until he says it. And actually, he's not even the only guy. Kevin Warren, the former Big Ten commissioner, is actually over him. Both of them.
He's the team president now. Yeah.
And do you know what Kevin Warren said? I've always admired Justin Fields from my days as the Big Ten commissioner when I met him the few times I was in Columbus. So when the guy that has been, them two guys together, I just don't see where that can happen. But these guys get paid to keep stuff going, to keep you interested, and that's their job. Look at us. We're sitting here talking about it, so they did their job.
But Dad, why ain't nobody talking about trading Andy Dalton? Y'all ain't talking about, why ain't we talking about trading Sam Darnold? Why ain't we talking about trading Mac Jones?
The best one you made was the best one you threw out there was Zach Wilson, because he's awful. And there's the Jets are standing by him like no tomorrow.
Oh my God.
They're standing by that guy. So I mean, it's almost like, hey, he can do no wrong, and you sitting here, he hasn't done anything. And the problem with the Jets is the guy that they're talking about in Chicago should have been your quarterback, dummy. You had a chance to take him. You and the Niners are kicking yourselves because that's the guy y'all missed out on. And it's going to be like, and they're just like you missed out. They missed out on the Bears almost missed out on Fields. They got lucky that he was sitting there because they blew it with Mahomes and Watson 6 years ago. So once again, the football guys shined on them and came back around. Now I know you're not going to blow it again because the football guys gave you a second chance after you completely blew it 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So
looking ahead, guys, what do we're going to be on we'll be back on Monday.
Yeah.
But appreciate you guys. Great questions today from Mr. Burrow. That was great stuff.
I'm gonna see Tony Sunday night. We down at the Dragons,
we had the Defenders game.
Defenders game. We down there.
So guys, you guys keep plugging, letting people know that we're gonna be getting our website up, and we're gonna be doing different things. Start to write with all these guys. Look at all the knowledge that you got on here. And we're gonna start bringing more interviews like this. That was great because that helped parents, with reality. Mr. Burrow brought reality to some of these parents because they weren't always winning the Heisman.
Nope.
They were at home being a player of the state and having to transfer out of the state to a place they ain't never been to. So, yeah, that was scary. And Jody said it. His first year wasn't that great there.
No.
That was scary. So, as parents, as you can see, his dad was cool then, and he's cool now.
Still pretty cool.
Some of you parents, hopefully some of you parents learn. Did you hear how he said he doesn't get involved in all that other stuff? He let the coaches be coached. And I think that comes from him coaching and understanding. I got to respect my profession. And me being a parent, I got to respect those guys' profession. I'm a coach also, but I got to respect it, even though it's my son.
Okay.
So
That'll do it for this edition of the TD Report.
thank
We
you
got a lot
guys.
of stuff coming your way, everybody. We'll talk to you boys on Monday. Have a great
Nice
week.
talking, babe. It was good.
Hey, Jody,
It was great
that was
job,
good stuff,
fellas.
buddy. That was great. That was great,
Great
man.
job, fellas.
I forgot what time it was, man. I appreciate you, man. That was great shit.
Hey, no doubt, man.
Good
Appreciate you, man.
stuff. Thanks, Jody.
It's
Later.
all.